Welcome to the Screaming Blackbird podcast. In this show, we will talk with military officers and professional leaders to explore Air Force careers and engage in leadership dialogue. The Screaming Blackbird podcast is created by the cadets at Air Force ROTC, Detachment 605 at North Carolina A&T State University. The contents of this show are for educational and entertainment purposes only. They do not contain any official information nor opinions of Air Force ROTC or North Carolina A&T State University.
Appreciate you guys. See ya. See ya.
Welcome back to episode 23 of the Screaming Blackbird podcast. As always, I'm your cadet host, Cadet Jackson Willis, and I'm joined by three cadet guests today. We've got Cadet Emerson Siefkin, Cadet Stephen Casey, and Cadet Bernadette Sheeler. How are you guys doing this morning?
Doing outstanding, sir.
Outstanding. For the listeners and viewers who don't know you, could you give a brief 60 to 90 second intro, who you are, where you came from, and why you're here?
Yeah, so I'm Emerson Siefkin. I'm from Woodbury, Minnesota originally. I'm down here at High Point University because I was looking for a good values-focused school that aligned with sort of my interests. I chose the Air Force ROTC program because I've always been interested in aviation and planes. I've always seen myself sort of doing something with flying, but my alternate interest is the JAG Corps.
Cool. Well, howdy, everyone. I'm Stephen Casey. I'm from Austin, Texas. A little outside, but Austin's the closest place, so it's pretty easy to recognize. I'm also obviously a High Point cadet. Fun fact, I'm Army. However, I am interested in aviation, so I can get along with y'all. So we kind of have some friendship through that. But yeah, I came here, heard that ROTC scholarships were a thing, thought that sounded pretty cool, and I got one. So here I am in college having fun.
Yeah, I'm Bernadette Sheeler. I'm originally from Mason, Ohio. I'm majoring in business, and I joined the Air Force because I want to be a pilot. Over the summer, I got to listen to a Thunderbird pilot give a talk in San Diego. So after that, I was pretty much sold on the whole thing, and that's kind of what brought me here.
Great. Well, the topic of today's podcast is the GAFB. Somebody want to give a quick intro description of what the GAFB is, and then we'll get into some questions.
What are you looking at me for?
I mean, hey, I can get, so GAFB, right? GAFPB stands for German Armed Forces Proficiency Badge. It's a tongue twister. I can never say it right. But so essentially, what it is you're looking at a physical and mental test to try and get a foreign badge for both Army and Air Force. You can have one foreign badge on your dress uniform, and why not go get one? Yeah. So I mean, fun fact for me, I learned about this thing 2 days before it was going on. I have a buddy. His name is Will McMahon. He's one of the Air Force guys, and he had told me, hey. We're going. You want to join? And, I was like, well, I mean, that sounds pretty fun. I have finals, though, dude. And so I kind of had to go clear with a teacher that same day. It was a pretty fun test. It is brutal, but it was pretty good. It's pretty mental, physical. Y'all can go through how y'all thought it was, but I enjoy it.
Yeah, I would say it's really cool because this is a test that the German Armed Forces, everybody in the German Armed Forces is supposed to complete every single year. And that's just something that they have to do for their entire service time. So it's really, I thought it was pretty interesting to see sort of get a glimpse into what another foreign military does for their PT test, knowing what I know based off of what Army has to do, what Air Force has to do. I thought that was kind of a unique look at things.
You said mental test and physical test. What are some of the different challenges that are offered in this test?
I'll take that one. So a couple of the tasks, like the swim, the ruck, and the pull-up hold, you really have to have a mindset like you're just going to stick it out. Yeah. The swim, half the time I thought I was going to drown, honestly, and it was just like, keep going, keep going, keep going. It'll end eventually. You just it's a lot more mental than it is physical with those ones.
Yeah, 100%. And for those of y'all who don't know, right, swimming is easy on its own. You're swimming in full military combat uniform. Yeah. Fun fact, that thing's about 40 to 50 pounds worth of drag. So imagine swimming, being tied to a 45-pound plate, and then trying to, swim 400 meters. Just good luck.
Drag it through the water.
It sucks.
Yeah.
So I promise it's a lot harder than it sounds. It's not just like, oh, I'm splashing in a pool.
Yeah.
They like to make it a little tough.
And on top of that, trying to take it off in the pool after the swim, not holding on to anything.
While you're treading water, it's very challenging. Yeah.
So part of the rule was you couldn't touch anything while you were taking off, and you had to do that immediately after you finish your 400-meter swim?
Yeah. Yep. As soon as you get to the other side, you got to start taking everything off. and you got to be able to get it up on the side. So
Wow. So this is an opportunity that your detachments offered to you guys. Did they provide travel? Did they provide meals? Is this something that you guys came out of pocket for at all?
yeah, so this was something that obviously they set up and coordinated. So we got rides there through like the Govy vehicles, and so that was nice. But the food was something that we sort of paid for out of pocket.
Yeah, and I mean, at least like I'm an Army guy, so obviously, this was offered for Air Force cadets. I was just reached out to, and I had to go, run back through a little bit of chain of command, and be like, hey, am I even allowed to do this? Like, is this available for me? Obviously, it was. So I just kind of piggybacked on all the Air Force guys. I was like, hey, do y'all have like a bunk bed extra in your room? Is there an extra seat in the car? Do you mind just carrying dead weight? And thankfully, it worked out. So for us, it wasn't even sponsored or put together. So everything for me was out of pocket. It wasn't really that bad. That was really only 2 days. And we ate at the exchange or the X stores a lot.
Yeah.
So we weren't really dropping too much money at
Yeah,
all.
no 5-course meals.
Were you the only Army cadet that tagged along?
So I brought one other Army cadet. His name is Isaiah Amon. He and I are the leaders of the Ranger Challenge team that we have for the Army cadets. On a little side tangent, that's essentially like our special fitness competition team. And when I, got the opportunity, I figured there's probably only one other cadet who was at the same par who could actually compete and probably go win the badge with me. And so I invited him as well, and he could come.
Awesome. So this GAFB opportunity was open to all cadets. Are there any prerequisites that you had to complete before you were allowed to attend this event?
Yeah, so I know from the Air Force side of things, it sounds like maybe you guys sort of had a little bit more streamlined process because you had a little bit less warning. But from the Air Force side of things, there were sort of 2 qualification events that we had to do. The first one was a 7.5-mile ruck that we had to do under 2 hours, and the other one was we had to do a full run through of the swim and strip when we were in the pool before we could be considered for it. So we had to do both of those for them to be willing to send us.
For myself and Isaiah, he and I have the 2 highest PT scores on the ACFT, which is Army's fitness test. He and I have the 2 highest scores our battalion's ever had, beating every cadre, every student. So, and since we lead our Ranger Challenge team, we're already used to doing rucks of over 26 miles. We've had to do it twice so far. So he and I didn't really have any prereqs. It was just more so of a, hey man, you want to come with me? Like, this sounds fun. And, our cadre have that built trust in us because we've already led a competition team earlier in the year. So for us, it was more so of a, hey, I think we're good. Want to go see if we can do it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Going into some of those practicing things, what was the most challenging part before you even went on the trip completing? Were you nervous about any of the specific tests?
To swim, honestly. Doing it once in practice, I thought I never wanted to do it again. So going back and in the morning, they were like, okay, you're just going to knock it out. That was definitely the hardest part of it all, just preparing for that.
It's got to be nerve-wracking swimming with clothes that aren't really made to swim in, and you're fighting physically, and then you're running out of breath. And what percentage of it was mental to overcome, and what percentage of it was physical?
I'd say most of it was mental.
Yeah.
If you kept a good head on your shoulders and you didn't panic about the fact that you weighed 50 pounds more and that you were running out of breath and just kind of floundering through the water, once you realized as long as you just stay on top of things, I'd say 20% physical, 30.
I will say, though, if you were smart about it, I think there were sort of 2 ways that people approached the swimming section. People who were smart about it and people who weren't smart about it. If you were trying to do an overhand, like the front crawl where you're lifting your arms out of the water,
You freestyle.
those people, freestyling it, you're dragging that extra weight up and out of the water every single time, and you tire yourself out so much more. So the people who I think sort of thought it through realized pretty quickly that the only way to do it effectively was to do the breaststroke and just keep those arms nice and low in the water, low resistance, and it really made everything easier, I think, for the people who did it that way.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I swam with Isaiah, my Army buddy, because, they sent you 2 at a time.
Yeah.
And he was dusting me, but then very quickly he started getting really out of breath, and I was very slowly chilling with my breaststroke because I'm like, hey, there is a timer, but, I got to go real slow if I want that timer to, have any effect on me. So the breaststroke really helped because later we saw cadets start doing the whole doggy, they had to go switch to doggy paddle. Some people started sinking and then having to come back up and bobbing. And, it was pretty clear pretty quick on of, did you plan this out or are you just, gunning it?
Yeah.
We saw this also, same type of thing on later events.
Like the ruck.
Yeah, the ruck. There was also a shuttle sprint where there was very clearly one technique that was correct and one that was very not correct. So you started
It's kind
seeing
of cool to
little,
discover those though, and to sort
yeah.
of see what the best way was.
Oh, absolutely. But it was pretty interesting. There was a lot of ways to kind of not game the system per se, but to think about an event so you could do a little better ahead of time.
There's a bit of a strategy
Yeah.
on how to compete and be effective with some of these challenges.
And I would say the whole mindset, like you hear the phrase like slow is smooth and smooth is fast. Like I would say that absolutely applies to trying to do physical events like that. I really think it helps you out in the long run.
Absolutely.
Awesome. So it sounds like it was a mental test and it was a physical test, and it was great development for you guys as people and as cadets. Is there anything that you guys could have won or came back with, accomplished? I know you mentioned some sort of foreign medal wearing on your uniform.
Yeah, so I mean, there's the GAFB actually has 3 different forms of badge. There is technically one where you are qualified. However, that does not give you any form of medal. There's a bronze, there's a silver, and there's a gold. All 3 of them have different standards for event times. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were for each of them. However, what I can say is gold was rough. Gold was very rough to get, and they do have the standard of if you want gold, right, you have to get gold on every single event. If you mess one up, say you go gold all the way, the final thing is silver, you get silver.
Yeah.
So gold is the standard on everything, and gold is not easy. I know I kind of did a little self plug earlier about having a very high PT score, if not the highest ever scored in our battalion. However, I was struggling. I was struggling on some of these. I weigh 213 pounds, and holding a pull-up hold for a minute and 20 seconds is brutal. I was trying to prepare for it in the gym, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh my gosh, I can't do this. This is awful." So I mean, the standard there is a high standard for this event, but the badge is super cool. It is it's a little German eagle. We actually have one here.
We got one right
with a
here.
wreath around it. Very
I don't know if
pretty.
it shows
Very
up on
pretty
camera too.
award, and it's permanent. That's the big goal. Now every single one of us when we commission have actual
You have
award,
something legit.
which is cool. I already have some like actual chest candy, but more is never bad.
So this carries over into your active duty career.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Wow. Well, let's talk about, before we go to the event, looking forward to it. I know you guys said you did some practice. Is there anyone you spoke to that had previously gone the year before or ever before? And did you kind of ask them any questions or have any expectations before you went?
I think I think
Yeah.
McMahon said Cadet McMahon had gone last year, and he was sort of in a situation where he had gotten silver last time he went, so he was just going back to try and get gold, and that was his motivation for going back. So he had sort of done the ringer before and sort of knew what to expect, and we kind of had a rough idea going into it of what the challenges were going to be, obviously based off both the qualification and then what we could see online and what we needed to bring. But yeah, so he had done it before.
Okay, so you had one cadet that had been there before. It made you a little bit comfortable, know what to expect and how to practice for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say I talked to a couple other people, Cadet Masick and Cadet Barnes. Cadet Masick, he said just practice that pull-up hold because that really is the hardest part. Just go to the gym and get on top of it because you're not going to go and just be able to do it. And Cadet Barnes, the only thing she had to say is don't drop your pistol at the end. Don't put it down. Don't toss it. Don't drop it. Yeah.
So a little bit of nuggets of wisdom from multiple
Yeah.
different people helped you guys succeed in this program. Awesome. Well, now let's talk about actually going there. How was the travel? Would you guys step off and go all together? And then right there, let's talk about the beginning of this event.
Well, yeah, I mean, we all just kind of arrived there same type of time. Hopped in a Govey at, 4 or 5 a.m.?
Yeah, we were there
Really
really
early.
early.
Yeah, we were there pretty stinking early because we had to get there and go swim while it was still freezing cold outside. There's frost on the grass when we got there, so that kind of sucked. But no, we all just kind of piled into a car. Myself and Isaiah had never really met everyone in the Air Force side, so we were just kind of like happy to be there, you know? We just were kind of like, well, hi, we're Army. Like, I hope you don't hate us. Let's go have fun. But thankfully, most of us were awake for the duration of the car ride, so we became friends pretty quick.
Yeah, it was
Which
really
was
good.
nice.
So it's nice showing up, meeting other people. Once you arrived there, I know we've got Air Force cadets and we've got Army cadets. What sort of other people were there attending? Was it active duty people? Was it officers? Was it enlisted? Or was it other cadets?
All of the above.
Okay.
Yeah.
There were pretty much anyone you can think of. There were even a couple Space Force cadets there. I think one from, VMI?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
Awesome. So you're able to meet tons of cadets from tons of different detachments.
Everybody.
Yeah.
And were there any active duty personnel that were pursuing this?
There were a few. There were a few enlisted personnel that were there. I saw going through different challenges. I don't know that any of them did the whole thing the straight way through. My understanding was that because the German officer was there on base sort of for the last couple of years, it sounds like he has been able to sort of get them through various things. And so that a couple of them were either just finishing up a couple last portions of the badge or something like that, because they sort of popped in and out.
Yeah, there was at the very end with the pistol marksmanship, which we can talk about that event later. But
Yeah.
I did see 2 or 3 O2s and O3s, as well as there was a master sergeant and I think a specialist or private first class. So there was a nice little range of enlisted and officer.
It
kinda
seemed
filter in.
It seemed like sort of just the sort of thing where there was just like, hey, let's just go do this and have some fun, go see what the cadets are up to and get out of the office a little bit. Just sort of get out there.
Yeah.
Great. So you show up, and the first event is the swim, and it's freezing outside. Did they give any sort of speeches or intro and, hey, normal stuff like safety briefings, or was there anything outstanding that the German officer, the liaison, told you guys before you started this challenge?
So we were supposed to have a briefing outside. So we were staying outside in the cold, sort of just waiting for the German officer to show up. He was actually busy that morning with something else, so he had to like no show and go deal with his other responsibilities. So I think the whole like official start to that we were looking for didn't end up really happening the way it was planned. So we sort of just stood outside, and then they told us, "Okay, just go grab your stuff. We're gonna go swim now." And so yeah, we went and we swam.
Wow. I guess flexibility is the key to air power.
Yes,
You
sir.
just got to be adaptable. Or key to army power, I guess.
Well, we're not very flexible. We're kind of we're a little slow sometimes. We'll just leave it there.
Gotcha. Awesome. So you do the challenge. Everyone successfully completes the challenge for the swim for your group.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody made it through.
Awesome. So you passed the first one. Is that a timed event for gold, silver, bronze, or is it just a pass fail?
That's just a pass fail. Yeah. You can get yourself out of qualification if you swim a little too slow. But there's just a couple events that were really on those time standards. This one was just a pass fail.
Great. So you pass that, and then you move on. What's the next challenge?
The next was their little fitness test,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
comprised of 3 events. There was a shuttle run of running 10 meters. It was 11 times, right?
Yeah,
That was on?
11
Yeah.
times.
So running 10 meters, doing 10 back and forth sprints 11 times. There was
There's the 1K run.
Yep, the 1K run, and then the flexed arm hang, otherwise known as the pull-up hang. So that was the next little threesome of events that we hopped into.
Would you explain the pull-up hang for the viewers and watchers, and maybe myself, who don't understand exactly what you're talking about?
Yeah, so there's this big metal bar, and so you gotta hop up, and you gotta keep your chin basically above the bar. You're flexing, your chin's up above the bar, and you just gotta hold it and hold it
Yeah.
and hold it.
Okay,
then
so
they
it's a
hold it, and
timed
you,
event.
You
It's
gotta
just,
keep holding it.
it's not, you're not doing pull-ups or anything.
No.
You're just sitting
You're
up
just-
there.
Yeah. So you are you're doing a pull-up and you're leaving your chin above the bar as long as humanly possible. And so at least for myself, I can attest to, I'm a 200-pound male individual. I'm not a small guy. My arms went numb in about 30 seconds.
Yeah.
I do a lot of pull-ups. I do weighted pull-ups in the gym. This thing is brutal.
I would say it's way harder than doing regular pull-ups
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
because you're just sitting there.
So it sounds like a bunch of body weight exercise. Were there any individuals that showed up pretty confident in their physical ability and then didn't really perform so well?
Well, I mean, I can say at least like looking around, the pull-up hang got a lot of people.
It was a big decider.
The pull-up hang was a big decider. That was realistically for most men is what determined if you got gold or silver. And you saw
I'd say
some
that
people,
in the run.
yeah,
the
the
1K.
run, the 1K following it was also a pretty big determiner. So you saw a lot of people coming in confident and then not having the skill or the strength it took to maintain that. So you saw a lot of people start hopping out of that gold range pretty quick.
The pull-up hang, the 1K run, and the shuttle run, that was all outdoors?
Yes.
How cold was it? What was the weather like?
It had started to
I
warm
think
up
it
a
was
little
better
bit there.
40,
Yeah. But I will say, like,
40s.
you know, you get on the bar and the bar's cold.
The bar was cold.
But we had,
That's
was it Isaiah that brought chalk? Someone
There was
from
a
our
big bucket of
detachment
chalk.
had brought some chalk,
Yeah.
and we got a little bit of a competitive advantage with that one before
Game
we,
in the system a little
we
bit.
hopped on, and that I would say that definitely helped. Your
Oh,
hands get
yeah,
sweaty. And
Absolutely.
100%.
That was huge for the pull-up hang. We also did a competitive advantage when I found out you could dolphin dive while doing the shuttle run. So
Yeah.
to explain the
Yeah.
dolphin dive, right, sounds a little funny if I can't, kind of walk you through it. But so essentially, right, when you're running this 10-meter shuttle run, you're running 10 yards or 10 meters, and you're touching a line, you're coming back, and then you have to hit your chest again before you can get up and run.
so it's basically
So-
like doing a push-up almost.
Yeah. So essentially, the goal would, you'd run 10, hit your chest, do a push up, and then run it again. And this whole thing is meant to slow you down so you can't run. Obviously, you can't just keep running. You have to stop, hit a push up, get up. And so I kind of look at one of the lieutenants over there. I'm like, excuse me, sir, how much of a push up does this need to be?
What exactly are those?
Realistically, can I dive about 2 or 3 yards away from the line, land on it, and, throw myself up and count that as a push up? And he kind of looks at me as like, I mean,
If your chest hits.
yeah, your chest is hitting, right? And so we saw 2 kids go ahead of us, and both of them failed the time because they were trying to like really slowly get to the line, hit their chest, get up again. And so I just kind of look around. I'm like, okay, I think this is pretty straightforward. I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna dive, hit my chest, get up, and go.
Just run.
And I was easily within the gold standard. It didn't take long at all. And then I think
Absolutely.
everyone following me did that exact same strategy. Everyone was just running and diving because
Yeah.
it saved a substantial amount of
Diving on what? What material are you diving on?
turf.
Turf.
So you had to make sure.
Yeah.
We all made sure we had like long sleeve and long pant PTs. Otherwise, we all got turf burns.
Yeah.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Well, you
so
just
you
grin
could-
and bear it though, right? Like, I mean, you only got to do it 10 times, and you're just grinding through it. And at the end of it, if you're a little bit red, you're a little bit sore, it's okay because you're getting through it.
Because now you have a pretty cool
Now you got a
golden medal on
sick-
your chest.
You got a sick badge.
You got a shiny item. All right. Well, we finished those 3 things, and then what'd you guys do after? Did you break for food? Were you able to see the base? What happened?
What did we do?
That was the food break where we went
Yeah.
back and found our house. So they issued all of us keys to get rooms on campus, or sorry, not on campus, but on base, because we were at Fort Liberty, and so they gave us all little room keys as a little area to go change, do whatever you need. And so we realized that A, we're really hungry because we just worked out for essentially 2 hours, and B, we wanted to just chill. We didn't want to do anything more, so we went and grabbed food, went back to these little they're essentially kind of tiny dorm rooms is what they
Like a little-
realistically look like.
Little condo or something.
Yeah, a very, very small condo, probably a normal New York apartment. We're not very big. But so we ran in there, everyone tried to change out of whatever they needed to, and then we sat down and we went to a little break room. We turned on Anchorman as our little break. Sat there and watched that movie, ate food, recuperated a little bit before our next event.
What was the next event?
Gas masks?
Yeah.
It was gas
Was it?
masks?
No, it was. We did. Was the gas max before or after the first aid?
They were the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, they
We
were
had-
attached.
They gave us like a briefing on first aid, so what, TCCC stuff. right?
Yeah. So part of the requirement was that everybody be TCCC certified, and so that was actually an area where we saw a lot more of the enlisted and officer personnel show up because then they could come to this and that would count as like recertifying for them. And so then we did that, and that was in one of the squadrons, like I guess buildings almost.
The tactical weather.
Yeah,
Squadron.
tactical weather squadron.
They had a
that's what it
really
was.
sick insignia.
It was really
I have
cool.
to say, it was pretty darn.
I wish I
cool.
got one of those patches.
I know.
Yeah, too bad. But so then we did both a first aid portion and then there's a timed gas mask as well.
And so, I mean, if you've ever seen a gas mask, it's a pretty self-explanatory thing. If you really are confused as to what a gas mask is, just look at a photo of World War II. I promise you will see one very quickly. But essentially, this whole gas mask test was pretty straightforward. Realistically, it was, they gave you a gas mask, and could you put it on and seal it to your face in 5 seconds? What this means is, can you put this gas mask on over your head and make sure that you are breathing not the air around you, but the filtered air, because there are the 2 little tanks or reservoirs right next to you. And so while this sounds really complex, it's really easy. And
I'd say that's probably the easiest thing.
I
of
don't
the
think
weekend.
anyone failed it
Yeah.
because they showed you how to do it, and they let you play around with the gas mask for like 10 minutes each. So by the time you walked up to him, you almost had it on your face already.
A high confidence
Yeah,
level for
yeah.
sure.
It was pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty straightforward.
So it was more of an educational portion of the exam. So day one, you swim, you run 1K, you sprint 10 shuttle times while diving onto turf.
Yep.
You hang on top of a cold bar as long as possible, and you learn how to put a gas mask on and TCCC, which stands for what?
Tactical combat casualty care.
Good job, Air Force.
I think it's actually tactical casualty combat care, but
is it?
we'll
Okay.
give you
It
credit
is,
for it.
it is.
We were
But
close.
close enough. You got the word. You got the words right. You got the
Confidence
words
is key, right?
Right words, wrong order.
Yes.
It's okay. So you finish for that night, and then you go to bed. You're done for the night. Come back, relax, and then you wake up the next morning. And what's the next
Dark
event?
and early. So the next thing was the ruck.
Rock.
The ruck. That's right. Yeah.
Everyone's favorite event.
Yeah.
How much is in your pack, and how far are we rucking?
So I think the minimum that you had in your ruck was 30 pounds, I want to say.
35
35
pounds.
pounds,
35
yeah.
pounds is the standard ruck weight for very much so every single Army that I know of, as well as Air Force event for a ruck.
But I think-
it's the standard weight.
Speaking, at least for all of us, I don't know about everybody who came with us from Det 605, but I think we all had overweight
Way over.
considerably so.
Yeah.
Well, there's a funny story behind this if you're interested. So, we all checked our rucks, and we kind of had a mutual agreement the night before that everyone weighed the ruck ahead of time, and we don't touch it. We leave it alone so that it stays at 35. This is something standard that I'm always used to doing. If I know I have to go use it, is I want to hands off a day before so I
You
don't
don't
have
need
to
to
mess
worry
with
about
it.
it in the morning. Yeah.
And so we get there, and the German colonel, his name was Colonel LaBouche, he thinks he was really funny because he gave us a scale that weighed in kilograms, not pounds. And so he scares all of us right before we're about to step off. It's 5 a.m., none of us are functioning. We're all just tired. And so he goes, you should probably go check your weight again real quick. Because if you don't have the weight, you're out. Pretty standard. And so he gets a scale that reads kilograms and not pounds, puts it out, and he has this sly smile on his face. And I should have looked and made eye contact and realized, but all of a sudden I see this, I freak out, and I run back to our van and start loading my ruck with even more weight. No, I knew I had 35, right? And so I do this, and my buddy Isaiah does this, and we were so scared still about our weight because it still said under 35 that we then on our ruck route, we started picking up huge rocks and putting them in our rucks because we were afraid of 35.
It was the
During
funniest
the
thing
ruck,
Yeah.
you're
During the
picking
ruck.
up rocks and adding to your
Yeah.
packs.
Yes.
Yeah, I remember we were there was one portion where we were right next to each other, and I remember you pointed off the trail a little bit, and there's just this huge rock. I guess probably this big. I think he's got it sitting on his coffee table in
I
his
do
dorm.
have it sitting on my coffee table,
like
so
this
I still have this
big.
rock.
And so he's like, "Go get the rock." So we just run off, grab the rock, and I stuff it in his pack, and he just the whole ruck. He was adding weight.
And so when we say big rock, I'm talking it's about the size of someone's head.
Yeah.
This is not a small rock. It takes up the entirety of a sustainment pouch, which is those big pouches on the side of your ruck. It takes up the entirety of that. We're throwing weight on the other side. Isaiah has me go grab another rock or tiny boulder and shove it in his ruck as well. And so he and I, now our rucks are lopsided because we're sitting here we're not at 35 pounds. We knew dang well we were over, but that scale
Better
didn't
safe
say
than
we were,
sorry.
so we were afraid.
Yeah.
And so for the last 2 or 3 miles, I'm walking funny, trying to hobble to the left because I have 20 extra pounds on my right side than I do my left. Yeah. And so I look like an idiot the entire rest of this ruck, only to discover that when we get back, he swaps the scale back to pounds and has us weigh our stuff again. And I was sitting at right under 70 pounds instead of the 35 I was supposed to have, which was brutal. And Isaiah was not far behind at 62 pounds instead of the 35.
I know. I was at 50 for the entire ruck, and
I was
you
at
were.
50.
I think you were around the same. So, the ruck was a big decider. We saw a couple of very, I guess what I would say mechanical failures. I remember there was one
The
guy who
with the
had.
broken. Yeah,
Poor
his
dude.
strap broke on his ruck, so he had to finish it with one strap and holding it like this, trying to run.
Trying to
It
carry
was
it.
falling
Yeah.
apart.
Looked like it was a satchel of 35 pounds. It just did not look right.
Yeah. And so it was really one of those things where, you could, I think, feasibly walk portions of it, but if you're going to make the whole thing under time, you need to be at least trotting, you need to be jogging, and at some points just full out running to make it. And it was really one of those things where you could see who had the stamina, who had the cardio, who had the endurance. Really, after like the first 3 miles, you could see it like, we all started to spread out, and there was a couple packs that sort of developed.
And I mean, at least I can attest for myself. Bernadette had run ahead, or Cadet Schuler had run ahead of me pretty early on, and I had been walking with Isaiah just to keep our little army, the little two of us together, having fun. But the thing is, he and I are used to much longer distance rucks under much more stressful conditions. So he and I, if y'all had passed us at any time, would hear us playing a name game for about 6 miles of this ruck. He and I were sitting there like trying to like guess people's names. It's a yes or no question game. It's almost like Guess Who. And he and I are just doing that for 6 miles because we're having fun. Because for us, this is not terrible. And so for the final mile and a half, I'm like, I think I'm just gonna run, just for fun. Just because, this is something that we're used to doing, to try and catch up to Bernadette. I didn't, but I did run the final mile and a half in about 10-minute time, so that was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Wow. What were some of the times that you guys ended up finishing with?
I think I finished with, you were at like 1:45, an hour 45 minutes.
43.
Okay, 1:43, because I was right at 1:45, 1:46, and I think you were.
I was probably in the middle. I don't remember exactly where. We all passed with flying colors. None of us had any.
it was pretty
We actually-
Comfortably under time.
Yeah, we were very comfortably under time.
What is time?
It was 2
2
hours.
hours.
Okay, cool. So
2
you passed
hours,
with flying colors. Awesome. You finished. That was early in the morning. Was it
Yeah.
dark when you started?
Yeah.
Yes.
Was it
Yeah.
light when
pitch
you
black.
finished?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Rising with the sun. Cool. So you finished that. You're exhausted because you just rucked 7 miles with 70 pounds. 7.5 miles.
7.5 miles.
Sorry, I give you credit where credit is due.
Yeah, come on.
You finish and then you move on. What are some of the last couple challenges of this event?
Last
Shooting.
Shooting.
That's it, right?
Yeah. Pistol
Shooting was the
course.
only thing
Shooting.
left?
That was the only thing left in the course, I think. Yeah.
And for me, at least, this was the most mentally challenging. Not because shooting a pistol is hard, but because it's not a set. The pistol shooting wasn't a set target. You would alternate between 2 targets, and it wasn't known ahead of time. And so when we got there, at least for me, it was kind of curious because they lined us up in the middle of 2 targets, and then they would have you switch back, to target A and target B, going back and forth. And while it's not a physically hard thing, it's very mentally challenging because you are only supposed to have about a second or 2 to shoot, and alternating grip and looking back and forth can very easily combine to missing a shot if you're not, comfortable and calm and collected under pressure.
And you have to remember you're exhausted, you're tired, you just rucked 7 miles. So like you're physically tired, and now you have to be mentally focused.
And at least for me, my arms were still hurting from that pull-up hang. Like I'm a total gym rat, and I was still destroyed from that pull-up hang. Yeah. Additionally, a ruck pulls on your shoulders and your delts quite a lot, so you feel a little bit of you kind of had to like grit through it while you're trying to hold your pistol out and keep a solid, tight grip on your pistol, because you could feel your muscles kind of already, contracting and not being super happy with you for trying to tense them up again.
So it's a handgun accuracy event.
It's
What
the
handgun are you
M17.
using? Okay.
The M17.
M17. Awesome. And what are some of the criteria? What do you have to shoot to get gold or silver
Okay.
or bronze?
So I think the criteria, it's a 9 out of 10. So you get 10 shots total, and there's like he was saying, there's 2 targets. They're both like a human figure outline, and they've got different like boxes on them that they call like different target groupings. So it'll be like target group alpha will be like the chest area, Bravo will be like the head, that sort of thing. And so then the German officer would be behind us, and he'd call out, so I want you on target 1, Bravo, 2 shots, and then you go target 1, Bravo, 2 shots, and then he'd call out the next one, you'd have to rotate and go through it that way. So then he'd call out 10 shots total, you had to hit at least 9 of them with accuracy.
And so
To get gold.
To get gold.
Yes. And additionally, one of those shots you had to hit the headshot. You were given 2 opportunities to hit a headshot, one from 10 meters and one from 15. And normally with the headshot, both times they were following a primary shot. So this was your second one. So it would normally be target 1, Bravo zone, target 2, Alpha zone. I believe Alpha zone was the headshot range. And so, both of these headshot opportunities were not simply you're 5 meters away, point at the head and shoot. It was, this is your second shot, so you have to really take your time. The only thing is you're given 4 seconds to do both shots. So if you took a little too long to squeeze your trigger on the first one, you could then get in trouble, and it was very easy to miss a headshot since you were already shaky and trying to move your pistol back and forth. That's where you saw most people get a silver. isn't because they'd missed the target. You know, the target's not terribly hard to hit at between 10 and 15 meters. The hard thing is making sure you hit that headshot. Because I saw people shoot 10 out of 10, they just didn't hit a headshot.
Mm-hmm. And that was the other part of it, is that you're gradually moving back in range. There's sort of 3 stages. There's the 5 meters, the 10 meters, the 15 meters. And so you're backing up as you're doing it. And so it's becoming increasingly difficult over the course of fire.
Absolutely. Yeah. The nice thing about being 5 meters away is you can kind of test your accuracy. You can, get a little grip on your pistol, understand, okay, do I need to grip it tighter? Do I need to grip it less? Is my aim sight, like, am I looking down sight well enough? So it was really nice having that little 5 meter kind of, I almost consider them test fires, because I knew even if I were to hold my pistol sideways and close my eyes, I could still probably hit the zone. Yeah. So it was nice to give you these little, like, I almost call it like a stress reliever shot. It was just enough to be like, okay, I feel loose. I feel
you have
myself.
Confidence that you can handle the firearm and you know what it's going to do.
Exactly. The only problem was then if you missed one later, here's where the mental thing hit, is because now you're going, I can't miss another shot. And so I saw that you saw people start breaking down because they missed a single shot, and then it got to their head. Because if you miss that first headshot, now you're like, I have to hit a headshot.
You have to hit the second one.
I have to hit a headshot. But then if you're thinking, I have to hit a headshot, guess what you're going to do? You're not going to hit a headshot. Hit it. Yeah. When you're calm and collected shooting, you're fine. The moment you're stressing, or when you're stressed while shooting, all of a sudden you're going to jerk the trigger. It's just how it works. I've seen it with everyone I've ever shot with. And so I did it too my first time. Thank God you get 3 attempts to do this. But the first time I shot 7 out of 10, even though I'm a very confident shot, and I've shot pistols my entire life. I mean, I am from Texas, so I'm very used to shooting. I mean, it's just the truth, right? I grew up with a 22 when I was like 4 years old. My grandpa's like, this is what he needs for Christmas. So I'm used to shooting.
American.
And and so I missed the headshot the first time. And the rest of it, I'm sitting there like, oh my God, I missed the headshot. Oh my God, I missed the headshot. And then when I had to go back and forth, I was just missing because I couldn't get it out of my head. Yeah. So I did see people start to break down. And then, when you have to go back that second time, now you're going, I already failed once. So the mental aspect for me hit the hardest on the shooting. I'm not sure about y'all, but for me, the shooting was easily the most mentally challenging.
What did you think about the shooting?
Going into it, I thought that was going to be what I failed, because I'd never shot a pistol before. And, like, I have really, really bad vision. So I was afraid I was going to go out there, not even be able to see the target, and then, shoot Colonel LaBush or something, because I can't aim. But I think the first time I got 9 out of 10 and hit 3 headshots. So I was really happily surprised.
Yeah.
So seeing that this was the last event, was there any individuals that you observed that had gold throughout or was being successful and then came to this event and ended up failing?
Yeah, so I think that was a real thing. Like Steven was saying about how it's very just a mental game. You saw people who I think were checking out early. Like they thought that they were over the hump. Like, okay, I finished the ruck, I finished the swim, I finished the pull-up hold. This is easy. All I got to do is just do a little bit of shooting. Done. Easy gold. And I really think that was not the case. And a couple people found that out the hard way, realizing that it's just as challenging as the others, if not more challenging, because there is more of that mental presence than there is maybe with just the shuttle run, where it's a lot more physically focused. When there's that mental presence in, you really have to be focused. You really have to be sharp.
Oh, absolutely. There was a cadet from another university who was next to me. First time, he shot 10 out of 10. The only problem is he missed both headshots. He hit the target 10 times beautifully. However, they weren't headshots, so they didn't count. And so the headshot is what distinguishes you from gold and silver. And so he had silver. The only problem for him was he was so upset about it and so focused on the headshots that the next time he went and got the headshots, but he missed the body shots, which, you shouldn't do. And then the third time he missed both, failing and just, he had to finish with silver.
So you only get 3 tries.
Yeah, you get 3 tries, but, if you let it build on you, that's what happens. For me, after my first attempt getting, I called silver on my first. I'm going like, you've got to be kidding me. I can't believe I missed this many times. And then rather than getting all upset with myself, I just walked over to one of my buddies who I'd been chatting to him like, do you have any tips, man? Like, I know you just got gold. I've shot a lot. I think I'm just overthinking it. Like, just walk me through it real quick. And so he was just like very calmly, very kindly was like, he sat down and he's like, well, this is what I did, very calmly. Look look out, slight pull of the trigger, break out all the excess, and then finally click and bang, there goes the bullet. And I kind of realized, oh my gosh, I know this. I'm not doing it because I just been jerking the trigger just because I have nerves building up on me. Just because, I'm thinking, do I get the gold or do I get the silver? And thankfully, since I got calm, I went right back. 10 out of 10. We were fine. Both headshots. I came back like, thank God. But then, we then saw some of our buddies, same type of thing, except they didn't ask for help or they didn't reach out because surrounding you are all these officers, and there was a German Special Forces sergeant there even, who was completely cool if you went up to talk to him and go, hey, can I get a shooting tip real quick? He was sitting there playing with a pistol, happy to teach people. And I saw 2 cadets go up, do that, talk to him, and then come back with a gold. However, people who were just, starting to get in their head, we did have one of our guys even get silver, even though he aced every other event with flying colors, just because, the shooting got to him.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I would say for someone who has, I'd say, a fair bit of experience when it comes to shooting, I'd say there are a couple of pretty common errors that people were making that, had they gone and talked to an expert, like the dude he's talking about, the special war, his entire job in the German armed forces is to teach other special warfare people how to use like special weapons platforms. So the dude is an expert when it comes to rocket launchers, when it comes to sniper rifles. He's done it all, right? When you talk to him, he's got so many cool stories. And the biggest issues they were making is, they were, like you said, jerking the trigger instead of doing a smooth pull. And they're just not, I forgot what the other one was.
No, you're good. It's just, it's things that are so small, and like shooting a pistol is so easy. And it's because it's so easy, it is so easy to forget to do everything.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those things like riding a bike. It's like, oh, it's second nature. I know how to shoot a gun. But then all of a sudden it's like, do you really? Because it is so easy to forget. Oh, I should probably, make sure both of my trigger wells line up. Oh, I should probably, make sure I'm grabbing under my gun, not pushing it or pulling it.
That was the second one. Was follow through.
Yeah.
It's because you want to stay on target all the way through the trigger pull, because you'd get what you get was some people would have a good trigger pull, but then they would move the gun in anticipation of the recoil. They'd start to bring it down, and then that's how a lot of people, I think, miss the headshots, is because they'd be right on target, but they'd start to pull it down because they were afraid of the recoil that was going to happen.
And had you ask one of the sergeant, because he had to be one of the weapons range guys anyways.
Yeah.
So if you very quickly had asked like, hey, you mind watching this next shot real quick? He happily would have obliged. He did it for 2 other people. Like I said, like I watched 2 people go, excuse me, Sergeant, is this correct? While they shot their next shots, he gave them a couple tips and tricks, and then they shot perfectly. So it's like, if you have resources around you, might as well use it. I mean, gold looks way cooler than silver on your chest.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, there's that.
So you finish the shooting. You guys all passed. Congratulations. You get your medals. Is there a medal ceremony or something that goes on? Where's that?
Yeah, so we did it right on the range, which I think was way cooler than going back to just some building or something. I really liked doing it on the range. And so we each got presented our various medals by Colonel LaBush himself, and that was really kind of cool because the medals there are actually there's two sorts of types of medals you can get. You can get the medal that was imported in the U.S. for the purpose of the GAFB, or you can get the actual German medal. So these medals that we got were actually from Germany, the same ones that you would get if you were a German officer.
And you can tell they're German because there's a long pin that looks like a massive needle in the back of it.
Yeah.
Or it looks it's like a clothespin almost, and it's the differentiator. Normally there's like tiny little pins in the American version, but the German one is this long needle-looking thing that's about like 2 inches long. And when he initially pulls out the medals and shows us this little needle thing, my first reaction is like, I don't think I want this badge anymore. I'm like, I think I'm cool. Because at least for me, I had gone to air assault school for the Army, and they do something called blood winging you, where they there's 2 little spikes on the back of your air assault wings, and the staff sergeants or the sergeants to give you your award, they'll put it on your thing, and then they will punch it in, and it stabs you. It is a tradition, maybe not one I was a fan of when I was the one getting stabbed, but I mean, hey, it worked. But when I saw that thing, I was terrified, man. I started having flashbacks. I'm like, I'm about to get stabbed by this guy. Thankfully, that was not the case.
Awesome. So you finish up the ceremony. Was there any other opportunities that you guys got to do while you're at Fort Liberty outside of the test itself, like get to tour a squadron or get to ride in a cool vehicle or anything else you did on base before you packed up and headed home?
I don't think
I don't
so.
think so.
Cool.
Eat
We
tornadoes.
just got food, yeah.
Yeah,
pretty much it.
We ate a lot of tornadoes.
There's a
too.
lot of tornadoes that
Oh
were
my
consumed.
gosh, those things are good.
Yeah. So I guess for the people who don't know what a tornado is, how would you describe it? It's like
It's like a taquito.
yeah.
Yeah,
That's a good
it's,
descriptor.
It's I don't know why they only have them on military bases, but it's like this super cheap taquito, but they're really good. But sometimes they're like breakfasty.
Yeah.
I don't. It's just it's a special food. It's almost like getting an icy at like a movie theater. It's just something you get rarely, but when you do, they hit so hard.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
So pick up a tornado next time you go to a military base.
For sure.
100%.
Yeah.
Noted. For
We're not sponsored by them, by the way.
Not sponsored.
wrapping up, we got a couple rapid fire questions for all three of you. Are going to get answers. Favorite part of the Gaffby? What was it?
I feel like in between all of the events, we did a lot of fun stuff, just hanging out and going, from place to place and messing around.
Hanging out with friends.
I mean, I was gonna say that same one, but because I don't want to be repetitive, I really liked the little graduation ceremony at the very end, because it was cool being on a range. Additionally, the photos, because of course, you're gonna want a photo op with the German colonel and everything. It's not every day you get to meet one of them. So we all went and took photos as a group, as individuals. And the backdrop is just it's a gun range. It's such a cool
The lighting was good, too.
militaristic
Yeah.
background. The lighting is beautiful because it was the sun had just came out on a really nice morning, and so it just gave this kind of like aesthetic and wholesome end to the whole thing. It's like, okay, hey, I'm tired and I might be a little worn down, but this is really pretty, and
Really
I
worth
feel accomplished. I feel happy, and it's it's a real pretty view. So I really did like that.
Medallions on the range.
Yeah, I would say probably the shooting portion was really fun for me, just because I was confident and I knew I was going to be proficient in it. But I would say the other part of it was just getting to know the Army cadets. Like that was definitely something I went into. I was a little bit unsure having these two bozos with us. But I think by the end of it, I think it's safe to say like I got along with them really well and made some new friendships that I wasn't really expecting to make. And that we're in the same building when we're back at the detachment. It's really cool to be able to like see each other and just have that camaraderie that is sort of between the Army and the Air Force. I think that's a really cool thing to build, really cool thing to develop. I want to do more of that because it's really awesome.
Absolutely. If I had to put a second place for my favorite things, I have to add that too. I know myself and Cadet Amon are very loud, very headstrong individuals. And normally we scare most of the Air Force kids because we are being very loud and obnoxious in the morning. We're running past y'all in PT and just screaming obscenities. Like, who knows what we're saying? But yeah, it was very nice to be like, hey, y'all are people, we're people.
We can match energy.
Obviously, the military is our future. Let's, come together and make good friendships. And so thankfully it was that for not just the High Point cadets, but all of us. So I felt like the detachment and our battalion became definitely a little more connected through it.
Cadet joint operations.
Absolutely.
Is a
Should do
is a
more of that.
plus. Awesome. Hardest part of the thing, or hardest part that you didn't expect to be hard in the challenge.
I would say actually it was the shuttle run going back and forth. At least for me, I'm not really a sprinter. Like I'm much more comfortable with the long distance, like the 1K. That was easy for me, right? The ruck, I was fine with that. But the going back and forth, I was a little bit nervous about. That was going to be a struggle. And I don't know if we didn't have the development of being able to dolphin dive. I don't know that I would have made it. So I would say probably the shuttle run.
Shuttle run with the dolphin dive. Hardest part.
So I had known ahead of time that pull-up hang was going to suck. So for things I didn't expect, the ruck only because I got tricked. And because I had a rock. So fun fact, I have weighed the main large rock that I have. It is currently on my coffee table in my house. It is 17 pounds. And that was on one side of my ruck. So I was doing this silly walk.
Yeah, not only was it a heavy ruck, but you're supposed to pack rucks very specifically.
Yeah.
The heaviest weight goes close to the body and low as possible, and then you kind of get lighter as you go
and
out.
not 17 pounds on your side.
On your side, hanging away.
Very
out.
heavy, very far away from your body. So the whole little stupid waddle walk thing I had to do for the last 3 miles, definitely hard because that just kind of sucks.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a correction. I think the heaviest weight goes close to your body and high in
It
your
does.
pack, not
Yeah.
low.
High on the shoulders.
So
As close to your spine as you can get it.
I had a gaff. B. Okay. What was your hardest part of this challenge?
I actually think I'm the opposite of Siefkin. The 1K, like the shuttle run was fine. I'm a sprinter. That was like just throw yourself down, get up. The 1K, I mean, going in, I thought it was going to be fine, but once we started, all the guys, like, they were up there, and I was just trying to stay with them a little bit. I was like, as long as I can see them, it's fine, right? So I got to the second lap, and I was suddenly like, I'm going to be done, but I don't know. I think I passed with 2 seconds to spare.
The 1K sprint.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right. Biggest learning lesson that you guys took away coming back now with the biggest learning lesson, biggest nugget. What'd you take away?
Start over there.
Start over there.
If you're not trying to, maybe not work outside the rules, but if you're not trying to use every resource, every advantage to help you get ahead, you're doing it wrong. And I think that showed up multiple times throughout the weekend, whether it was talking to experts when we were on the firing line, whether it was trying to maybe skirt the rules a little bit with the dolphin dive. I think if you're not trying to get ahead, you're already behind.
If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Spoken like a true Michigan University fan right there.
Whoa, they won the Natty. I don't think we can talk. For me, definitely that it is okay to ask Air Force kids for help sometimes.
Wow.
It is
Wow.
I can't believe we got that on recording.
We got that on
Catching
video.
strays.
Yeah, that's crazy.
No way.
No, I'm just messing. But no, genuinely, it was, because after the shooting that first time I'm messing up, I'm like, what is wrong with me, man? So, sometimes sitting down and just talking to people makes everything way easier. Definitely a big lesson going on. And then, secondly, a lesson is that, if you're not going to go talk to people, if you're not going to go like reach out and try, you're not going to get anything. So, I would not have had this opportunity present to me if I did not intentionally go out on my own will.
It's true.
To ask, my chain of command, Air Force's chain of command, additionally, and reach out to the actual Colonel LaBush and Lieutenant Dyke, who are on Fort Liberty on base. So just, if you want to go get these types of things, if you would like to go get cool Army awards,
You got to get after it.
you have to get after it. Absolutely. You have to go,
I'm not going to serve it up to you.
No, yeah, no. It's not first come, first serve. It's, if you want to go get this, you have to go work for it. You have to go try. Because in the end of the day, it is very rewarding to work for something and go get it. It is a great feeling. You feel better about yourself. You get a little bit of chest candy sometimes. And ultimately, you probably make more friends and have a great time. So genuinely, if you go out there and work, you will get results.
So seize every opportunity
Absolutely.
and talk to everyone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, kind of going off of that, I think really recognizing everything is an opportunity in one way or another. Like, you can learn something new. You can challenge yourself physically or mentally. You can meet new people, just make connections. Like, everything is an opportunity.
Awesome. Cool. Last rapid fire question before we get into our listener questions. Do you plan on going back?
That's a tough question. If the opportunity presented itself, I think I would, just because I know I can do it now and I think it'd be fun. But I've got my eyes open on other potential foreign badges. I think when we were there, my eyes sort of got opened. I think there's like a Swiss one, there's a Finnish one.
There's a Norwegian one.
Yeah,
coming up.
Norwegian one.
Yeah.
So I'm maybe gonna try and get different ones, but this has opened my eyes to foreign badges, and I'm gonna see how many I can pick up.
Cadet Seafagan is going around the world with
Around the
these
world.
proficiency
Yeah.
badges right now.
Let me tell you, those are fun. I've done a couple of the other ones. They are pretty fun.
Which other ones have you done?
I've done the Norwegian. I have done the Finnish. I have done Mountain Warfare. I've done a couple of these. So they are pretty fun. Absolutely go for them if you can. I'm trying to do Brazilian and go get jump wings. So, if you can, go do it. Why not? It's way more fun that way. You also just got to do cool things. Like, I didn't think during finals week I was going to go do a German Armed Forces badge. Like, what the heck, man?
Yeah, that was the crazy
yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Was finals week.
I don't think anyone in their right mind did. I called my dad, who's ex-Army Ranger. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go do this GAF meeting. He's like, you're doing the what now? Aren't you supposed to be testing? I'm like,
During finals.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, it was pretty worth it in the end of the day. Yeah. Pretty fun.
I would go back.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'd want to get gold again, but like going in, I had the goal to get gold without having like the female handicap or whatever. And I did for every event except the pull-up hold. So I would want to go back and fix that.
Okay.
I totally realized I forgot to answer the question of if I'd go back. So answer yes.
Classic Army.
Okay, haha. See, if I can get, so my goal would be if I can go back, I'd like to bring some of the Army kids with me. Because both myself and Isaiah, like I said, we are the two captains of the Ranger Challenge team. And so it'd be really cool to open that opportunity to all of them as well, because at least on the Army side, to get on this team is very selective. We do, I'm not going to say like brutal physical hazing, but we definitely do some workouts that will make you, if you're not ready for it, you're going to be feeling it. Because you gotta select who's the best, who's the most intelligent. I know Army, I know you're gonna judge us, but you gotta have it. You gotta have at least a little bit of it. And so if we can get them to be able to come, that would be awesome. To have a full team that can do more than just a single challenge would be awesome. It would be cool to see all of Army get an opportunity maybe once in a while. But for right now, I think those who I'd like to give that opportunity to people who already work extra, who already show that they deserve it. So I would like to go back if I can and bring them. And I'll just do the test again for fun. I'm kind of psycho, but it'd be pretty fun. We enjoyed it.
Cool. So yeses across the board.
Yeah.
Yep.
Outstanding.
For sure.
Now we move into our listener question portion of the podcast. We want our listeners to be able to ask you guys questions and get their questions answered. We've got cadets from all over the country. We've got high school students who are interested in ROTC, and we've got adults and parents who just want to learn more. Maybe their kids in the program. So,
Of course.
first listener question: what can I do to improve my mental toughness to compete at an event like this?
I would say just put yourself out there. Like, the only way to do better in uncomfortable situations and unexpected situations, the only way to work on improvising, adapting, and overcoming is to put yourself in those situations where you have to do those things. So I would say if this is something that you even are remotely interested in and you're maybe on the fence, you're not sure, you just got to get yourself out there. You just got to say yes. You just got to do it. And then you can figure out the rest of it as you go. I think there's a great Teddy Roosevelt quote out there about that, sort of playing to that idea that, the first thing you should do is volunteer and say yes, and then figure out how to do the things after it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if at first you don't succeed, try again. So, I can't recommend it enough. If you're like, hey, I want to put myself in this opportunity, just do it. I've put myself in a lot of uncomfortable opportunities in my life, and I've grown every single time. Before I went to air assault school, which to me was absolutely terrifying because it is known as the hardest 10 days in the Army. Realistically, it's 2 weeks, but 10 days of just legitimately, you are getting hazed. You're getting destroyed all day long by sergeants. It is terrifying. Drill sergeants, they're dogging on you while you're trying to learn stuff. And so, to me, that was terrifying. It was mortifying. I'm like, I've been in ROTC. They're not yelling at me because that is scary, and I don't want that. And so going to actual Army school to go do actual things, jump out of helicopters, was wild to me. I was wildly uncomfortable doing it. But at the end of the day, now looking back, I'm like, I grew so much as a person. And it's not just stuff within the military, right? It can be anything. It's like, hey, I want to go on a trip. Okay, then go. Don't sit there and question yourself. Sometimes you just, you got to go jump in the lake. Yesterday, actually, I'm not good at snowboarding. I'm very scared of heights. I have a very big fear of heights. However, I decided, we're going to go snowboarding. And so I went down. I started trying to figure it out. And I had a very big fear of going toe side on a snowboard. What this is, toe side is when you have to go back and turn your back to the mountain as an attempt to slow down. It helps you in your process of weaving down a mountain and being safe and being able to navigate. However, this is scary because all of a sudden you're going fast and you're not looking perfectly where you're going. And so I'm sitting here like, oh my gosh, this is terrifying because I'm going down a hill that's elevated at probably a 60-degree incline, and if I mess this up, I'm going to go tumbling down. And so like even for me, like I've jumped out of helicopters and I've done like fast rappelling down helicopters, and I'm scared of snowboarding. But ultimately, I'm like, okay, if I want to learn this, I got to commit. So if you want to grow out of that comfort zone, sometimes you just got to jump in the lake. Sometimes you just got to do it and figure it out after you're there.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, y'all hit the nail on the head with that one.
Terrific. Well, we've got another listener question for you.
Started it.
What's the best part about meeting cadets from other detachments?
You learn so much. Like, their experiences are so different. They have so much to say. And even just, like, small stuff in making friends across the board. Like, you'll probably meet them again in your career, and having contact somewhere else is great.
Oh, I can absolutely get on that in multiple angles. For me, it was just cool meeting Air Force guys, because I know the whole Army side of things. I don't know the Air Force side of things. It is fun to go back and forth and be like, all right, this is what we call that. That's what you call that.
Yeah.
What's this? What's that for y'all? It is really entertaining to be able to do that. And I don't mean to keep plugging air assault school, but to go there, I know. But to go there, right, they take cadets from all over the nation, and West Point guys and actual Army infantry dudes. And so when I went there, I was the only kid from the state of North Carolina there. And so it's myself, kids from programs all over the nation, and then, West Point kids, people from everywhere. And so just the opportunity to meet cadets from completely different backgrounds than myself was wild. And ultimately, I've seen several of them again throughout doing like different things like that Ranger Challenge I was talking about. And so it's awesome. You just make connections. Now you know other programs. Now you can link up. Now we have a very large friendship established between most of the High Point kids and Wake Forest cadets.
Yeah.
Just because I knew one of them and we decided to hang out on a weekend together. And so I think if you can meet cadets or try and go elsewhere and find out these other new programs, you can learn a lot. You can get great joint opportunities, and ultimately make friends. And especially if we're all going to go commission together, it's not a bad idea because maybe you'll luck out. You might have one in your unit, you might have one in your attachment.
It's true.
Not a bad thing.
That whole cross-pollination idea is really valuable. I was fortunate enough to go on one of the FTX field training exercises earlier on in fall semester, and I saw some familiar faces, and it was one of those things where once I've already met you before, we could sort of build those friendships and really start to develop a relationship there where it's a comfortable face. I have your contact information now, and we can compare notes on how your detachment does things, how my detachment does things, and we can really work together because, we sort of, I think we get into these knowledge silos where Det 605 figures out how to do some things really, really well, and then other detachments figure out how to do their things really well. But until we get that cross flow, we're missing out on what really makes us all better, and I think that's true between both Army and Air Force, and Air Force and Air Force. And I think we all get better when we exchange those ideas and get out of those silos.
And sometimes you make lifelong friends.
That's true.
The 2 roommates I had at Air Assault, we've all hung out since Air Assault twice. One of my buddies, he's at the University of Michigan, and the other is at Citadel. Both times, all 3 of us have traveled to each other's schools just to hang out again because we had a good time together. So legitimately, you might make lifelong friends doing it. So it is an excellent opportunity.
That's awesome. As we wrap up here, do you guys have any parting shots or any nuggets of wisdom that you'd like to leave with our viewers, watchers, listeners?
I don't know. Slow is smooth. Smooth is fast.
Love it.
Yeah. If you get the chance to do any form of broadening, any form of extracurricular things within your ROTC, or maybe just outside in the real world, take it.
Yeah.
Take everything you can. I've never regretted going to a military school. While it might be scary, you might not, it might be waters you've never tested before. The worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to learn. That is the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah, just keep trying new things. Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Hear that one a lot.
Yeah.
Love it. Nuggets of wisdom. Well, we really appreciate having you on this podcast. It's a growing way, a community of people who want to push themselves and do better, and being able to see opportunities like this and get different perspectives from y'all is amazing. So thank you very much for being on here.
Thanks for having us on.
That being said, this concludes episode 23 of the Screaming Blackbird podcast. I'm your cadet host, Cadet Jackson Willis, and we are joined by Cadet Siefkin, Cadet Casey, and Cadet Sheeler. We'll see you guys next time. See ya!
Whammy.
Awesome.